Dear friends, it's day 924 of the three-day Russian invasion of Ukraine. Kremlin changes tactics. Deliberate terrorist attacks resulted in hundreds of casualties in Ukraine over the past 3 days. The US responded to the Russian strikes, but will it improve the situation? Let's talk about the recent updates right now. Over the past 3 days, the Russian terrorist forces conducted 4 major missile attacks, targeting a single military and a dozen of civilian objects. In Poltava, the Military Communications Institute and a hospital were hit. 19 civilian houses were damaged. In Sumy, Russian terrorists attacked a civilian university and an orphanage. In Zaporizhia, a hotel with a family inside was destroyed. Civilian houses in the area received additional damage. Also this morning, Russian missiles wiped out a civilian neighborhood in Lviv downtown, and another hotel was hit in Kryvyi Rih. Overall, Russian terrorist strikes only since the beginning of September already resulted in approximately 400 dead and wounded Ukrainians. The youngest child killed by the Russian terrorist was as young as 8. This boy was killed together with his mother in Zaporizhia. Apparently, deliberate Russian strikes on civilians can be a result of Kremlin changing the tactics of terror, trying to demoralize Ukrainians and their allies. Also boost morale of the Russian citizens who celebrate each Russian strike on the Ukrainian civilians. For example, here's the most recent commentaries on the popular Russian Telegram channel Ridovka. Not enough damage should be raised to the foundation. What about bridges? What about the railroad? We should burn Ukrainians with no remorse. Finally, a different talk. How much time can we hesitate? Thank you very much, guys. Such a good news. Well done, boys. Don't let them rest. We should keep the tempo and strike Kyiv more often. We should have destroyed the West Ukraine back in 2022. Kill Ukrainians, save Russia. This is how we should strike every day, whole Ukrainian territory. The more victims, the sooner the victory. Eat these bitches. This is not enough. We need them to understand what it means to fight against Russia, because they lost fear with the support from their Western masters. The country that sucks from the USA and NATO should be completely destroyed. They don't understand anything otherwise. The Western Ukraine should be hit, and hit without stop. Otherwise, the Jews feel too safe there. Instead of striking individual targets, we should strike Ukrainians massively 24/7. I hope they will keep a good tempo. We should hit every single day without stopping, without letting them breathe. Very well. Thank you very much for hitting Lviv. Glory to Russia. Good morning, Ukraine. Kill Ukrainian pigs and Jewish Nazi. Russia hit Poland. Beautiful good morning. Eat these pigs. When will we hear explosions in Europe and America? It's time to hit Washington. Considering the rate of producing missiles in Russia, I anticipate that these terrorist attacks will continue for another 2 weeks with 2 to 4 days of delay between the strikes. The drone attacks, however, will keep being launched every night from the territory of Russia and the occupied Crimea, because Russian terrorists, with the help of Iranian terrorists, established a regular production of kamikaze drones on the Russian territory. Why were these strikes possible? The main reason is that Ukraine is banned from using the Western long-range weaponry to strike the Russian airfields and launch sites in Russia. President Biden, in the recent statement, condemned the recent Russian attack in the strongest possible terms. However, it didn't change the position of the US on the restriction of using the long-range weapons to protect Ukraine. According to General Patrick Ryder from the US Department of Defense, the US didn't make any new decisions on lifting the restrictions and letting Ukraine defend itself against the Russian strategic aviation. Fact is, as of this moment, the Russians' air bases are completely protected by the agreements with the United States, while the Ukrainian citizens keep being killed by the Russian aircraft and Russian ballistic missiles. According to the Institute for the Study of War, the wanted war criminal Putin wants to eventually overwhelm Ukraine by exhausting its armed forces, while American politicians either hesitate to make important decisions or openly call to stop the aid to Ukraine. The biggest problem is that the Western politicians at this point are less dedicated to fight against Russian terrorism than the Russian terrorists. Those are not as hesitant and unfortunately more organized and motivated. How exactly will the history remember every single decision maker on the West at this point remains unclear. And before we finish, I would like to make a small announcement. I decided to adopt my former brigade, which is 4th Operative Brigade Rubizh, people who fought in Hostomel, Rubizhne, Severodonetsk and Bakhmut. Besides using FPV drones, my guys operate also reconnaissance drones. Mavic 2 can be used for such purpose. The more reconnaissance drones they have, the more lives can be saved. That's why all the donations on my PayPal that are marked as drone or drone fund will be directed to this purpose. With that, my friends, I wish you all a beautiful day. Please share your thoughts in the comments. I'm Operator Starsky. As always, be safe.